Once you've finished your watercolor painting, even if you are using really good quality 140-pound watercolor paper like I did here with this Arches brand cold pressed paper, sometimes you will still notice a bit of rippling or buckling on your painting, and that will happen more if you don't use tape. So in this particular piece, I did not use tape. It was just a quick sketch and it rippled a bit. And so if you want to flatten it out without disturbing your painting, here are some simple tips that I recommend. I use just some clean water and a large brush, and I simply just add a bit of water to the back, being careful not to get the front of the painting wet. I think it helps to have another piece of paper beneath the one you're working on just to catch any drips. Once the entire back of your watercolor painting is coated evenly with just a bit of water, you just want to hold it up and make sure that there's no water pooling along the edges. And at this point, I take a paper towel and I just lightly roll it over the entire back so that it catches any excess water. Then I do a quick double check to make sure there's no water on the front of my painting, and then I take a second piece of clean watercolor paper, usually something inexpensive and cheap, and I just put that on the back. And then on top of that, I put several flat books, and I just leave it sit for about 2 days. And when it's completely dry, then I take it out and it's ready to be framed. And always make sure to sign your name. I usually do this on the front and in the back. Then I use some archival quality tape, and this one is Artist Tape by Blick. And the key is to use tape that contains an adhesive that is neutral in pH, because over time, if you use a tape that is acidic, it can make your color of your paper become yellow. So always go with an artist grade tape. And I just simply attach it to the back of a frame. In this case, I always use a mat board because it creates a bit of a space between the surface of your painting and the glass within the frame. And it's important to have that bit of a gap, because if you're in a humid environment or really anywhere, it just helps preserve the longevity of the painting by keeping that bit of an airspace between the surface and the glass. Now, if you noticed before I placed this painting within the frame, I did not actually go ahead and flatten this painting out ahead of time. I felt it was good enough, and I knew that once I put it into that frame, you wouldn't notice any ripples or gaps in the paper. There are a lot of great places to buy frames. I like to buy them at a store called Michael's, which is just an arts and crafts store, and they often have sales that make buying frames worth it. Otherwise, you can check out Blick's or IKEA for some other options too.